People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. I'm Abs of October Red, and I'm absolutely delighted. That's a word that's used quite often, actually. I'm excited to be joined by Cruiserweight Lucas Roehrig. Welcome.
I cut out for a little bit there. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be interviewed by you again.
Yeah, it's a good catch up. Your reception isn't the best, is it? Have you got Wi-Fi, or are you on like
Yeah, do you
5G?
know what it is? I'm literally in the commercial gym right now. I just finished a little session. But
Okay.
let me put
Okay,
on
you might
bar.
should ask them to get you to jump on the Wi-Fi. Give you
Yeah,
the
I'm on the
password
Wi-Fi.
for Wi-Fi.
I'm on the Wi-Fi. I'm on the
You're
Wi-Fi.
joking.
Obviously. Yeah. It's obviously not that good.
Wow. Okay. Well, we've got to make do with what we've got. So, a firm welcome back to you. I know that you're fighting next week, but I want to talk about that actually because you've signed with Wasserman. Now, I've seen you go on the road, I've seen you all over the place. So, talk to us a little bit about that and why you decided to sign with Wasserman.
Well, Wasserman, they have that personal connection with George, where, Nissa and Kali, they manage a large part of his career well. So they do have that trust between them. And for us personally, we wanted to at least be guaranteed 2 fights in the summer. And, they had dates during the summer, especially those dates being on Channel 5, which is great exposure, not just to the boxing public, but to the general public who sometimes would just tune in to shows on Channel 5. So we decided for the time being and the near future, they would be the best people to go with.
Okay, it's cutting in and out, and we've got a little bit of background noise as well. Is there anywhere quieter in the gym? It's all right. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
keep this quality up.
I'm gonna try and move.
And this is what happens, guys, when you do the lives. You never know what's going to happen, where you're going to be. But I need to try and get the best quality for my guests. So if you've just joined us, like I said, it's Abs of October Red, and I'm joined by Cruiserweight Lucas Roehrig, who is managed and trained by former champion George Groves. So let's have a look and let's see if he can find somewhere quiet. Lucas, as we know, fights next week. He's recently signed with Wasserman. So we're just trying to get a little bit of a background information on that. Let's have a look. Is it quieter?
Wait, there's still background noise.
Yeah, because I can hear kids
There's
now.
little kids in the background, I know.
This is crazy. Probably should have done this when you was at home.
I know that I just had to get the work. I mistimed it where
Oh
I got my
no.
workout in, and then I went sauna, so I
Yeah.
mistimed it a little bit.
Nice, cool.
But I think here might be a lot better.
Okay, we work with what we've got. I don't mind improvising. You can't miss your sessions at the gym because obviously they're very, very
Exactly,
important.
that's first of all, that's number one over everything.
Yeah. Let's just wait and see if you can find somewhere else to settle. But while you're doing that, I did see George Groves the other day at the press conference for Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois 2. Didn't get to speak to him much about it. He tried to get him to come on the channel, actually, and he just gave me a firm no. So I'll have to try and catch up with him another time.
Yeah, I feel like it'll definitely come up at some point, and even if we can do a Joe interview at one of the conferences or when we see you next.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where you are. Have you settled into another spot yet? Because it's frozen on the screen.
Yeah, I'm at another spot now. Can you not see me?
Nah, it's frozen. Come out and then come back in, and then it should refresh. So if you jump off and jump back in, it will refresh. Oh, no, that's better. Oh, he's probably jumped off now. The joys of lives. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't have it any other way. There's a lot going on in boxing actually. So while I wait for Lucas to like refresh and come back in, recent news this week. Two bits that I'm interested in actually, and it's, I guess the main one is Anthony Joshua allegedly signing a 2-fight deal, or potentially signing a 2-fight deal. I've only seen bits and pieces on the internet about it with His Excellency. And one of the fights being mentioned is Dillian White. That was a bit, don't know where that's come from, because I thought he might have said some other names, but we'll see what happens there. And then also, we've had the news of that's loads better. We've had the news of Delicious Ori having one fight and retiring. Yeah, sorry. I was just saying to the audience that we've had a couple of things happen in boxing this week, but we've got to get back to you. So, Wasserman, like you said, you're happy with the Channel 5 deal. But being on the road, because you've experienced working with a couple of other promoters as well, Small Hall. I like what you've done, actually. I like the fact that you've sort of gone on the road very early on in your career. But over to you, Lucas. You explain why you decided to do it that way.
Well, for me personally, I was following the guidance of George, and especially as a boxer early on, it is good to be out of your comfort zone. So if I was always in my comfort zone, always getting what I wanted, the fights I wanted, not being pushed or felt challenged, then I think later down the line, when you do face that high opposition, it will show, and those cracks will let you down. So it's good that we're doing this now. Like, it's good that we're challenging ourselves. We're on the road. We're fighting in all different parts of the country against tough opposition, and it will definitely pay dividends in the future.
Yeah, because your first fight, wasn't it against a former English champion? Wasn't that your debut fight?
Yeah. Joe McIntyre, he was a 2-time English champion.
Yeah.
So definitely someone who's very credible, not someone that most debutants would take in their debut, and that kind of set the stage for the rest of my career, where we'll keep on jumping into challenges, betting on ourselves each time, and reaping the rewards.
Yeah, I like the fact that you did that, because like you said, not many debutants would take on a former, like you said, 2-time English champion, because you are setting a bar for yourself. You're saying that, listen, I know what I'm capable of. I know the level that I want to go in at, and now I want to continue that. So talk to us about your other opponents after that, Lucas, and the learning that you've had so far with your fights, because I thought your debut was very good.
Yeah, so after that, my second fight, I got the opportunity to fight on Sky Show with Adam Azim, his Lipnets undercard, which was a great experience. Boxed, someone who had vast amount of experience. I was able to get him out of there in the third round, but more so it was the whole event that I would say I took from that fight, where even till now I haven't fought on a stage that big, Wembley OVO Arena, alongside many other great fighters on the British scene. So that was something that was, it was kind of, this is your first little taste of the bright lights, first little, where you feel like this is where you want to be. Especially seeing guys like Adam Azim, who are only a couple years older than me, and they're already headlining, fighting for big belts, and doing their thing. So it made me realize that very, very soon this could be me.
What's the type of taste that it puts in your mouth? I know you said, very, very soon this could be me, but then you go back on the road again. So you get the big bright lights, and then you go back on the road again. And then obviously you're going to be going on to Channel 5. What kind of taste does that put in your mouth, Lucas? As a fighter, do you think, I want this all the time? Or are you still cool with like moving around?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm cool with moving around, because I wouldn't want to have that once twice a year and then, not be active. So I would rather be fighting on, say,
I get
small
it.
hall shows 4 or 5 times a year, 6 times a year. And, when I do get to the level where that won't be possible no more, then, that's what it will be. But for now, I haven't broke through yet. I'm not, you got to be honest with yourself, not a headline name where every show you're going to be fighting in big arenas. But I believe in myself that will come. So right now, I'm doing what I need to do to get there. And, that's how I look at it. But it's definitely left a taste in my mouth where it's like, yeah, I know this is what I want. Boxing is all or nothing for me, where it's too hard of a sport not to risk it all and get the max reward. So it was definitely a great experience having my second fight.
Then you've kind of touched on something, because I was just like saying there, one of the topics that's come up this week, and I want your opinion on it. I know you're different weights and etc., but Delicious Ori had his debut, didn't perform the way that he wanted to, and then obviously yesterday there was an announcement that he's decided to retire and pursue a career in the corporate world. I know that you're, like I said, you were different weight categories. He was also, obviously, he's an Olympian. You're come from the GB pedigree as well. What do you think of that? What's your honest opinion on that?
To be honest, I think, he knows better than all of us how he feels as a person and as an athlete. I remember him from the GB squad. He was one of the nicest. Like, he was such a nice person, like a team leader, a role model for all of us. So, like, everyone has different aspirations and different goals in the sport and in life in general. So for him, maybe, he made it to the Olympics. He had a great amateur career, and especially for him as a heavyweight, after having all that, there's probably a lot of pressure, a lot of people telling you you're going to make loads of money if you go over, you can't let this opportunity slip away. You're seeing dollar signs, but maybe in his heart of hearts, he didn't want to, if that hunger is not there for boxing, he definitely made the right choice. Like, his health, he's looking after his health, his mental well-being, and he's a very, very smart, intelligent person. So I'm sure he's going to do great in whatever he chooses to do.
That is a really, really kind answer. How do you know then? And I'm going to take you back to when you were an amateur. How did you know that it was definitely the right decision that you made to become a professional? What made you know? And this is obviously, this is Lucas Roehrig's story. This isn't Delicious's story, but I'd prefer to hear it from a fighter. You had to sit there. Did you have to have that conversation with yourself? Like, is this what I really want to do? Or was it inevitable for you? But you know what, Lucas, your words.
No, 100%. It's one of those ones where you have to have that conversation with yourself, and you need to ask yourself, are you willing, to sacrifice, a whole heaps of things, your personal life, relationships, your health can be at risk, and that you got to be able to know yourself and know you'll be able to handle that pressure when it comes. And for me, just events in my life and how things have occurred, I just knew that this is for me. There were certain situations where I said, boxing is my plan A, plan B, and plan C. And especially after, my debut, my second fight, my third fight, even where there were little things outside the ring and that I had to deal with, I realized that I'm strong enough person mentally, and, this is definitely without a doubt what I want to do.
You know what? I rate that. How do you, I mean, you're still so young. I think you're 21 years old.
No, I just turned 22.
20, sorry, belated birthday wish. Sorry, I missed it. But how do you have that maturity to deal with things that are happening outside the ring and then you still got that tunnel vision of boxing is what I want. Because not everyone can do that, Lucas. This is what, this is what Delicious retiring so early has told me. Not everyone is cut out for this. So how do you do that? How do you compartmentalize what's going on outside, and then
Yeah.
still able to say, you know what, boxing is me?
Yeah. No, that's the perfect word. That big word, compartmentalize. I can't hardly pronounce it, but
Don't worry, I can't either.
it's even, George always tells me, when you step into the gym,
Yeah.
everything that's outside problems, anything is out. It's out. Your mind is solely on boxing. That's it. And I think it's one of those ones where I understand the dangers of the sport. I understand, the risks and rewards. It's easy for me once I step into the gym. When I step into the ring, it's 100% on boxing, fully focused. So I don't know, like you said, some people have it, some people don't. But for me, I have that maturity at a young age. I have that I can visualize what I want, and it's never been a struggle for me, even if I feel down or anything. Once I step into the ring, it's only boxing.
But it must take some kind of skill set to do that, because we all have distractions, and sometimes you can wake up in the morning and it's like, oh, today's just a crap day, and then it follows
Yeah.
you through the whole day, and then it might disrupt, say, your workout or your fitness. I'm trying to get inside the mentality of this champion mindset that you have to have. How do you just switch off? How do you do that? I'm asking you because sometimes I need that advice with some stuff that I do. How do you say, you know what, you stay over there, I need to focus on this? How do you do it? How
Yeah.
do you physically, mentally do that? I'm intrigued.
But boxing is one of those jobs where if I was just doing a 9 to 5, I could clock in,
Yeah.
kind of just go through the motions. I wouldn't
Mm,
have to, be 100%, concentrated
switched on.
100%. But yeah,
Yeah.
but with boxing, you do that. It's like, it's even with other sports. If I was playing football, if I was having a bad
Yeah.
day, I can make a couple passes, kind of lay back, let other teammates do their thing. But then with boxing, like George, his eyes on me. So like yesterday, I done 10 rounds sparring. If I come in with a bad attitude, like, oh, I don't want to be
Yeah.
here, and he's gonna see it straight away, and I'm gonna get my ass whooped. Like it's that simple.
Right.
I'm gonna
Okay.
literally get my ass whooped. I'm gonna feel even worse because I'm gonna have even more of a bad day, and then George is gonna realize it straight away. He's gonna be ripped. He's gonna say, what's going on with you? There's no hiding in that way where um,
There's
it's
no
yourself.
hiding. I love that.
There's no hiding at all. So you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to be honest with the people around you. So with George, me and him have a great relationship where we can talk about anything, and there's 99% of the time I always enjoy my craft. So that's kind of my break. That's my therapy from everything else.
You know what? I hear that because I'm the same with fitness. Fitness is part of my therapy, but speaking to you guys is also
Mm,
part of my therapy as well, because I'm intrigued by the way that your minds work. It's not just about you going in the ring and punching people up. I like to know the
yeah,
psychological dynamics, because you are a very, very small percentage of the human race. Because if you deep it, how many people are going to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go in a ring. I'm gonna potentially expose myself. I can get punched up. I can die. I can end up with life-changing injuries. And I'm gonna do this for potentially 10, 15 years and earn a living.
yeah. No, you're right. It's a very very small percentage, and it does take a special type of person. But I think boxing in a way does represent life, and those who do understand it, and like the purists, is a beautiful thing. As far as I know,
talk to us a little bit about like how your style is developing. You know, I get it. Some people, when they're in the amateurs, they say, listen, my style was always for the pros. I hear it so many times, but you can go back and look at tape and you think, well, actually, it looked the same. You know, I haven't really seen much of a change. Yeah, it may be more of a professional style, but you're still moving backwards and forwards in straight lines. You're not really using the ring as well as you should do. But talk to us about your development and how you found it. Is there any difference? Sounds like a stupid
Yeah,
question, but is there?
there is a massive difference. I mean, if we kind of look at it, amateur boxing and pro boxing, they're two totally different sports. You know, the attributes you need to be successful as an amateur won't will not be the same as the attributes you need as a professional. You need to be a lot more all-rounded as a professional, especially when you're fighting 8, 10, 12 rounds when you get to that level. And, you know, you're fighting, you know, mature, physical, athletic people who, you know, it's a totally different kettle of fish where they're trying to take food off your table and then you're trying to do the same. So people are hungry. You need to have that spite. You need to be spiteful. It's not just about, of course, you need to be technical, skillful. That will take you the most. But it's, you know, for me, I've always viewed amateur boxing and professional boxing as two different sports.
And I think that's the kind of right attitude to have because it is, like you said, the longer rounds, the different types of people that you're going to be fighting, you know, more mature, more experienced. And when I talk about experience, way more experience as well. You could be going in there with somebody that's had 30 professional fights. So they
Mm.
know the tricks. They know what to look out when it comes to the young prospects like yourself. But Aaron Daly's quite rightly said in the chat. So good afternoon to you, Aaron. Lucas is a very good prospect. Upper spoke well of him with the spars that they had, and that's how I heard about you. I'm in a boxing group chat, so shout out Base the Kid and Danny from Fight Fan TV. They were the ones that were, I think they were down Churchill's because Upper
Hmm.
was over here doing some sparring, and they were messaging me real time saying, I'm telling you now, keep this name, Lucas Roehrig. I've just watched him spar with Upper, say less. And that was the messages that I got. And I was like, really?
Mm.
Send me his details. And that's when I found you. And then obviously I met you at your first, well, it was your second fight, but your first fight with Boxer. So talk to me about that experience with him because he sung your praises because he was tweeting you as well. He was saying, follow my
Yeah.
man. You know, that's that.
Mm.
Come on, props like that already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, shout out to Alvataya, stand-up guy, stand-up champion, and yeah, it's funny how boxing is. That shows you how tight of a circle, just off one spar, you can get that sort of praise. Um, yeah, I think the first time I sparred him, I didn't even have my first. I was leading up to my first professional fight,
Yes.
and that's it. It was leading up to my first professional fight, and yeah, it was the experience that would just put me in a good stead. You know, the number one fighter in my division, and then for him to give me that praise after the sparring, and then even call me back to fly out to Saudi with some more rounds. It was definitely a big confidence booster.
Your cruiserweight division, the division that you're comfortable in, there's obviously names that are sticking out at the moment. Obviously, we've got Chris Billum Smith that's been around for a minute, very rugged.
Mm.
You know, we had his fight. Oh gosh, what was his name now from America? Why have I just his
Brandon
name's just
Glanton.
yeah, Brandon Glanton. He had
Yeah.
that fight, close fight, good fight. Then we had Vidal Riley versus Chev Clark, beautiful boxing match.
Mm.
Vidal Riley's, you know, lovely boxer, lovely mover, knows his way around the ring. And then
Hmm.
more recently, we've had Aloys fight Jameson. I
Hmm.
think that was on a Queensbury show recently. So yeah, there's a few names in there. When you look at the landscape
Definitely.
of cruiserweights and you look at challenges, Lucas, what do you see with those guys? And I'm not. It's not disrespectful. I'm just talking about like where do you see yourself with those guys? When do you think you can start to mix it up with them? Yeah, I know you're only going into your fourth fight, but come on, we know what the game's
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, of course. I'll be, you know, after my June 6th, I'll be 5-0, and hopefully by the end of the year, I'll nearly be touching a dozen fights. And I think
Okay.
when you start to get to 10, 11 and 0, the fans do expect you to have that step up fight and to really have that breakthrough fight. And I think guys like Alois, you know, where he's not, he's ahead of me, but he's still not too far ahead of me, and where we're both similar in youth,
Yep.
and that's definitely a fight that would show the boxing public where we're both at.
Yeah.
Guys like Vidal Riley as well. He's British champion, great fighter, great boxer. He's someone that a lot of people are hunting right now. He's got that clout. He's a very skillful fighter as well. And, that's definitely a fight down the line once, I progress that I would love to have. Guys like Chris Billam Smith, a good friend of mine. I think, those guys are more towards the end of career. I think he
Fair
should
enough.
he should have his fight with Buddy Jack. I believe he'll beat Buddy Jack and become like become two-time world champion, and have stamp his legacy, and stamp himself as a legend in the cruiserweight division. And even if he's able to get that belt and then unify against Opataya, that would be a great fight.
Where you are at the moment, I see like you're climbing a hill at the moment. Would you say that it's on a low incline at the moment and it's not yet on that steep incline? Or do you think it's still steep when you start off?
I think it's in this day and age, especially with the amount of noise that is out there, it is
Yeah.
hard to really bang that door down and break through. And
Yeah.
you can't be nice about it. You do have to
I love that.
make statements.
I
Do
love
have
that.
to beat the people you need to beat, and you can't be mild or something. That's why I believe after, I hit 10-0, 11-0, those fights need to come, fast and quick, because, the boxing public are very impatient,
Yeah.
and, they really want to see if you're the real deal or not. Because there's too many, people, there's a big gap now with boxing where people don't know if you're actually the real deal or you're just being
I hear
pushed
it. Yeah.
by the media as someone,
Yeah.
you know, there's the
Spot
the
on.
difference between real and fake is so close now. People can't really tell the difference.
Spot on. I like that. And you mentioned one of the things I want to end up, and I'm going to let you go about your business, is you mentioned having spite as a fighter. I know it might sound basic, but we've got people that are pure boxers and they're skillful. But what differentiates that boxer when he starts to bring spite into it, when you start to be vicious, when you know that it's either you're taking my food or I'm taking yours.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a mentality that you need to have. And I think, as you get older and you realize how the world works, even when it comes out of boxing and business and, other parts of life, a lot of the times, people with that sort of mentality,
Yeah.
with that kill or be killed mentality, they're the ones that rise to the top. So, and boxing is no more than the truth, because, it's a sport where two men are fighting in a squared ring. So you need to have that. You need to have that. It don't mean that you need to be a bad person. It don't mean you need to be, someone who don't want the best for other people. It just means you need to, want the best for yourself, the people around you, and understand, what you need to do, as a man to get what you want.
I love that. The maturity levels on you are phenomenal. I can't wait. I'm following you closely. Lord willing, I'll still be here in a few years' time. And I just want to see, the progression. I love to see the progression with fighters. I like to speak to them when they're fresh in their career so I can see that development. But for all our viewers, can you let them know how we can get behind you, support you on socials, when your next fight is, etc. All of that stuff. A little bit of a sales pitch for my pixelated Lucas.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
What's up,
sorry.
mate?
Just first of all, I'd like to apologize for me being disorganized and doing the
No, it's
interview
cool.
at the gym. I should have definitely gone home, but just the way the timing worked. And they can follow me on Instagram, Lucas Roehrig 1. I post all my information about upcoming fights, training, and all of that. I'll be fighting June 6th, Newcastle on the Wasserman Show, and I'll be on around 8 p.m. And then hopefully we'll be fighting very near after. And then, yeah, thank you for everyone that tuned in. And thank you, October, as well.
Listen, anytime. I've got to ask, Lucas, you know your surname, is it German?
Yeah, that's it. It's German origin.
I'm good at this. I was having
Yeah.
a debate with someone. I was saying Roehrig because I spoke, well, I used to be able to speak German fluently many years ago because I'm like 1,000 years old. And I was looking at the name and I was saying, I'm convinced he's German. Someone says, no, he looks like he's a bit Albanian. I went, nah, he's German. Got it right. But anyway,
Yeah.
on that note, thank you for joining us. We've got to catch up soon. I won't be in Newcastle because it's 5,000 miles away and it's like £300 for a train ticket. Not doing it. But when you have a fight that's like Manchester, London, or whatever, I'll definitely be there. But Jim, just let us know and I'll come down to you, Jim, if I'm about.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, October.
No,
Yeah,
thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you. And I'll speak to you soon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. You can watch this on playback. But Lucas Roehrig, everyone, get behind him and support our British cruiserweight. Until the next time, and as we say at October Red, stay ready.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.